Procedural programming can be defined as a programming model which is derived from structured programming. Procedures, also known as routines, subroutines, or functions, simply consist of a series of computational steps to be carried out. During a program's execution, any given procedure might be called at any point, including by other procedures or itself. So in this session, let's discuss the following concepts: default arguments, inline functions, reference operator, passing arguments to functions, and we'll see how to call a function by passing a value and by passing reference. Default arguments are used when you provide no arguments or only few arguments while calling a function. The default arguments are used during the compilation of a program. And C++ we can provide default values for function parameters. The rule when you provide default argument is you can provide the default values from your right hand side to the left hand side. Let's take an example and understand default argument concept. So let's write a function sum that is going to compute the sum of, say, 3 integers. So let's proceed. You have to include the header file iostream, include the namespace std. So the default arguments, if you're working with default arguments, you have to provide the same in the function declaration. So function declaration is a statement that is going to give you an idea what is the return type of the function. If it is returning any value, what is your function name, how many arguments the function is going to take, and what are the data types of those arguments. So let's go and write a function which is returning nothing. So if you are not returning anything, the return type will be void. And let's say my function name is sum, and we are going to take 3 arguments to the function, and let's say all are integers. So I will say int a, int b, int c. So this is the declaration, or we say prototype of the function. So this is the prototype of my function, which is giving the information to the compiler that you're going to work with a function by name sum, which is not returning anything, and it has 3 arguments which are of type integers. Now say you're going to work with default arguments. So as per the rule, the default values should be given from the right hand side to the left hand side. So you can provide any default values. So let me start from C. I'm giving the default value as 10 here. I will give one more default values. Let me take this as 20. If you want, you can make A as well as default value, but as of now, I'm going to work with only 2 default values. So I have given the default arguments to the function sum. So next I'll define my function. So function definition is nothing but you specify the statements that the function is going to perform. So let me say void. So function prototype and function definition should match. So void, my function name is sum. It is taking 3 arguments. So int a, int b, int c. 3 arguments my function is taking. Now within brackets you can write the statements that your function is intended to perform. So it is going to compute the addition of 3 numbers. So let me use an integer, say s, that is taking the addition of 3 numbers. So a plus b plus c. Let me use a cout statement and print the value. So let's say sum equal to, let me take the result s. So this is my function definition. my function sum, which is not returning anything. So the data type is void and it is taking 3 integer entities, and the function body is written in such a way that it is computing the addition of its 3 arguments a, b and c. And finally, I'm printing the sum. Now you invoke a function by making a call to it. Let me call the function within the main. So here I have the privilege to call my function by passing 3 arguments, by passing 2 arguments, as well as by passing 1. Let's see how this is done. So if I write a statement like this, sum, and say if I pass 1, 2, 3. So this function call is invoked by passing all the arguments. So here I am not going to make use of the default arguments. The user is passing 1, so this 1 will be received by A. I am passing 2, received by B. Passing 3, that is received by C. So when I say S is equal to A plus B plus C, it will compute 1 plus 2 plus 3 and the result will be printed here. Right? Now let's make use of the default argument value. Suppose I am calling my function as sum of 1. So here I am invoking the default value. I'll make use of the 2 default value here. I'm passing 1. This is received by A, but I'm not passing the second and third value. So your compiler by default takes 20 to B and the compiler takes 10 for C. So here the S will be computed as 1 plus 20 plus 10. So this is how the default arguments work. Whenever the programmer is not giving a parameter, the compiler will make use of the default value. Now, if the programmer passes arguments, then the compiler will work with the same. So, I'll proceed with one more function called sum of say 1, 3. Now, I have passed 2 values, but I have skipped 1. So, how will this work? I am passing 1, that will be received by A. I am passing 3, that will be received by B. But I have skipped the third one, so the compiler will work with the default value, that is 10. So with this function call, your compiler will work as 1 plus, I am passing 1 here, so it's received by A. So 1 plus, for B it receives 3. 3 plus C, it will take the default value, that is 10. So let's go ahead and build and run and verify our output. Yes, you can see your output here. The first output, sum is equal to 6. That is, I have passed the 3 values. So 1 plus 2 plus 3, that is 6. Second case, sum is equal to 31. That is 1 plus 20 plus 10. And the third output, sum is equal to 14. 1 plus 3 plus 10. So this is how you make use of the default concept in C++.